Hi Moxie, thank you so much for joining us today. First kind of question to you is, can you tell me a bit about yourself? So what year you're in and what you're studying, and maybe even a fun fact as well.
Hi Natalie, nice to meet you again. I'm Moxie Gibson. I'm a second year student studying international business development at Anglia Ruskin. That is to enhance and improve my business acumen in terms of developing my practical skill from work experience and manage that with the theoretical skills. University experience has been fun. It has been a learning curve, getting there and understanding the academic way of thinking. Fun side of me is I'm a little bit crazy and generally come across serious, but I'm a little bit crazy. Spend a lot of time with my son when I get time to use my heartbeat, but then I like to socialize and do things away from stuff. I haven't done too much reading because I've got enough reading in university and work, so I keep my life focused in that way. But I'm a football fanatic, so take me away from sports, then you take away my social life.
Oh, really? What football team do you support?
Arsenal. We lost 3-0 yesterday. I generally go to football matches. I used to go to the Emirates, but I'm waiting for them to improve again before we start going.
Oh, I'll tell my dad you said that. He supports them as well.
Yes.
So the next question to you is, obviously this month you are our student in the spotlight. So we want to know a little bit about you. So as you know, last month is October and it was Black History Month. So could you tell us a little bit about what does Black History Month mean to you?
Well, Black History Month is significant for me in many different ways. It was culturally significant coming into the UK back into the 80s and having something that value us in terms of that represents like the community, that we can just take a moment and reflect, not only of negative things that happen, but looking at the journey that we have traveled, what we need to achieve, and how we need to push forward. So for me personally, to play a role, that's the reason why I'm back into education, to demonstrate within the community that we need to improve ourselves and to do that through education, to push ourselves forward. So it's a significant thing for me and my son, growing up in an environment in Lambeth, which was quite multicultural at that point. And at that point, we didn't have many options or role models in life to push us forward. So as we grow, understanding of who we are, our history, and what the impact that we play within the wider community of the UK, and try to build and improve those history, then that becomes an essential journey that I've engaged in. Working to support, I've spent my working life, maybe 20 years working to support a community that is with young people, young violence, challenging behaviors, social care, mental health, and understand those aspects. So that has given me a better understanding of our journey, of some of the challenges, working in many multicultural groups. So I've then created my own dedication to say, I will be supporting Black history. And I'm not just from just a month, but in terms of everything that I do day-to-day life. But it's not just in terms of Black history, in terms of color. It's about an awareness of where we come from in terms of, I always say, I was having a conversation last week and I said, when I said a community is everyone within that community. It's not because you're Black in color, it's not because certain communities have never had the opportunities, whether you're white, British, Black, British, whatever, those opportunities have never been provided for a certain group of people. And to change that narrative, we need to then engage wider and get more of us in education, that we can be part of change by being in a position that we can be part of the discussion.
Absolutely, and I think that's a huge thing, isn't it? Is making sure that Black History Month isn't just one month. Actually, we're working towards society being a better place for everybody all the time. It's not just, in Black History Month we talk about race and Black history in that way. You've kind of already answered this question a little bit, but how do you celebrate and observe Black History Month?
Well, I celebrated looking at back some of the history, and it was quite key significant this year because I've learned something myself too. The first Black police officer, and just seeing her on TV and her experience of being a Black police officer on her journey. So in every year of celebration of Black History Month, I've seen someone that I've created history, someone that inspired us, someone that maybe I wasn't aware of, someone that I didn't take time to understand the journey of what brought me here. So I've celebrated it in many different ways in community settings. So I'm involved in other community settings within the community, engage in activities. I read a lot. I do a lot of social media as well in terms of those. So I engage in the whole process in terms of what the month is about and in terms trying to improve those engagement. But the key essence for me in Black People Month is not, as we just discussed, is not just highlighting the month as the month is what we are trying to achieve. What is the purpose of celebrating this month? How will we make steps to make sure that we improve who we are and how we've been delivered? And I'm always saying, I'm a person within the Black community, so I'm not here to talk about the faults, what happened, what went wrong. We're talking about how do we move forward? How do we then empower and find sources of inspiration to empower ourselves? And that will be niche to individuals. So yes, my son plays a key part because it's something he grows up in a much more fortunate era than I had when I grew, and help him to understand Black History Month and who we are. So I take time from a family connection, from a personal connection, but for the wider community as well.
Yeah, and you touched on your son and kind of yourself reading and almost educating yourself about things that you might not know about Black History Month, and also but to just kind of build your knowledge base to help you with your academia and in your job and the like. But I guess my next question is, why do you think that Black History Month is so important, not just to yourself as a Black man or the Black community, but to ARU London students as a community itself? Why do you think it's so important to everyone?
Black history is important for everyone. The university, I had a conversation with the university recently in understanding. So what we have, say for example, institutionally, we will have diversity policy awareness, but in most cases we have to sit down and understand what that's mean, reflect on it to really look at it. So then we work with policies and procedures that to say we meet those in a tick box exercise. But my question is, how does the university represent me as a Black student? How do I feel? How do they relate to me? How do they understand the different challenges in terms of, not through the process, but just me as an individual in terms of, and what steps are you taking about beyond other the policies in terms of those? So I think for most students that I relate to, might think that most time when we're in an organization, the organization cannot relate to us and really understand what we really are. Not the academic process, but it's not delivered, so it's understand. It relates to us as a person. So those are certain concepts that we would like to see improved within the university, that is being delivered in a way and being taken in consideration that the systematic way of doing it, not just the tick box policies, but better understand how we understand the wider community. And for me, I've got Eastern Europe, I've got different nationality, and it's to understand that context so we can deliver. So you can get the best out of each student. In terms of many Black students that come to university, they have never had an opportunity to be in a management position, in a position to really understand what it meant. And they will be studying, say, for example, in international management. And if we looked at the impact of mental health, there is no kind of support to take them on that journey rather than the theoretical, the journey. So then they've got this the education and they've got nothing to relate it to with the struggle. So one of the barriers that we're trying to break down is that, okay, if we're given the opportunity to education, we need to create a pathway. And we know we've got the workshops, but we need something more than that tick box exercise. So we can create a pathway so more people from ethnic minority can get a chance to understand what management is about, what decision making is about, when you're in a decision team, how it has been delivered, why. So they can experience, so they can better utilize education, not just from having this theoretical piece of paper, but no relationship, no reality in life to connect with that paper. And I was fortunate that I had a few discussions with a few of the students who contacted me through LinkedIn regarding their graduates and how, and the reality came to me like, wow, oh, so many of you graduate and you've got no idea what your next step will be.
Yeah.
And how do we then improve that and build that quality? So that's something that we would like to work with the university in, not looking at what hasn't done well, but how can we improve going forward?
Yeah, and I think, you know, what you've said about education and policy and really giving opportunities to, you know, more marginalized people within society and within our own community. I think it's so important for everyone to know about that, because it makes you an active citizen, being able to, you know, understand other people's difficulties and being able to recognize that and do something for them if they need it, but also doing something in yourself in terms of educating yourself and that proactiveness, you know, learning about that. I think it's really important. Slightly different question now, but you know, you're a man who's built himself up in a business, and now you're in academia. Throughout your life, has there been somebody who has in particular inspired you, whether that be, you know, a family member, whether that's somebody that we know in mainstream media, or whether it's somebody that maybe those who are viewing this don't know? Is there somebody that you can kind of pinpoint that has really inspired you throughout kind of your life?
Yes, I had different inspiration. My first inspiration, however, has to go to my dad. I grew up in a single dad home with three brothers, and that was not a norm in terms of most of my peers would be with maybe mom and an absent father. Here I am with a father and not mom, and for my dad to provide good school education. One of my brother graduated at high school. Then I wish I can be a father as he is. So he's my first inspiration. So everything I strive for in life, when I try to be, is just try to just match his effort in life in what he has achieved. Yeah. From a more wider community, I've got many speakers, many people. Bill Clinton was always someone that I'm connected with because of his presentation, how he was as a person. You know, you've got speakers, when they speak, they capture the room, you buy into their idea, they deliver. So Bill Clinton meant a lot to me in terms of political arena. Obama did not just empower Black people to see that if you believe in enough, not in the case that I thought he could have changed my life or he was to change, but to promote, to move that negative tone within the Black community to say, if you work hard enough, if you believe enough, if you're committed, if you're ready to sacrifice, you can achieve anything that you wanted to. Mm-hmm. So he was an inspiration in terms of those, but one of the most, in terms of person that I'm compassionate with this journey is Nelson Mandela. Everything that he went through, and to come back and become a prime minister, he told you that if you focus on the negatives, then you won't get where you are. If you focus on being positive and you believe and you're confident and it doesn't have to be in an aggressive way, then you can achieve your goals and you can build your activity and you can bring people along with you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the people you've mentioned that inspire you kind of radiate this aura, don't they, that they really speak to you, and it's not like it speaks to you here, it speaks to you in the chest, you know, and you really, like you say, believe what they're saying and how they deliver that, and it really gets people on board. And I think that was a gift that, like you say, Nelson Mandela and Barack Obama definitely have. It's just, you know, really giving that self-belief to so many people, I think really pushes through so many barriers. Obviously this year has been a very strange year. You know, we're doing this all online, and life has taken a different course to I think everybody would have expected. But kind of, what have you been doing during lockdown to keep yourself busy?
Well, to be honest, lockdown was challenging. When we started, we were in the final semester, and then we went online, and I'm thinking, wow, this is strange. We need to get through this semester. So it became challenging. It was a moment of unknown, so none of us knew what to expect, what it was about. So it was a fearful moment. Yeah, we see everything on the news. It was fearful. But what I did within that moment, and it gave me time to, I was still studying, but I diverted from study a bit. and I took some time to focus on my business plan and my business idea. So what I did was to look at not the negative of what's happening in the economic, but how can I then grow the business to benefit from the impact of COVID going forward. So at that point, I started working on my business. I have focused on my business in uni. I was interacting with uni as well, a few students from uni. And then within that time, I added another asset to my business. So my focus was purely business growth. It distracted me from thinking about everything that was happening. I stopped watching news a lot because it was too many negative feedback coming in, and I didn't want to take that on board. I'm aware of everything that's happening. So for trying to protect the family, my mom, she's got a peacemaker, and I've got a disabled sister as well. So they're in the high-risk category. So, and I've got a son. So everything was concerned around family. But the best thing that I've achieved was that time gave me to restructure my business. I've grown it myself. It gave me a different insight, and I've moved on. So I'm thankful for the time, because I could have then take some time to reflect and look at where I wanted my life to go. And in terms of uni, how would it benefit me, not just to have a degree, but how is it going to enhance my life in terms of my growth in what I'm trying to achieve? So it gave me all that time to reflect on the purpose of what I'm doing. What is the purpose of my educational journey? And how is that enhancing my experience in a personal journey? So that is what I took from university. There was not much to enjoy at that point. So I started my supported mental health services within that point. We started in 1st of August. We started that service. And it was, again, giving back to the community, supporting the community. Contacted the local authority. They bought into the idea of the service, and then we started going from there. So yes, I benefited from lockdown, but it was about the effort and the investment into research, thinking about my next step, and investing some time and effort in those, and had collective people around me as well to support that journey as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's kind of like a couple of things that you've picked up there. I think it's all about mindset, isn't it? I think it's so difficult when such a quick change has happened so quickly to really shift your mindset, and it sounds like you've done that really, really well, to focus on your business and stay positive. And I think that's another thing, is being adaptable, isn't it? When you have a business and you run a business, being adaptable to the changes that are happening is so important, because you have to be able to thrive and be able to kind of really make the most of it. And I think you sounds like you've channeled that really well to be able to, progress with what you're doing and really evaluate, your life and what university is offering to you. And I think that was a shock for me in lockdown, was seeing that university numbers didn't reduce. They were in some cases increasing, and staying pretty much level. And I think it's because people, jobs are few and far between, at the minute. And it's like, well, how do I upskill myself? And education is the best way to do it. So I think people are wanting to do that. And obviously you're already in education, but it sounds like it makes your mindset different and your view a little bit different, I think.
It did, but one thing I didn't touch on it was that we had a support group as students as well. So we were part of a group that we faced a new challenge together. We didn't know the outcome or understand what it looks like, and we were all asking questions that no one could answer. The university was unable to answer because it was new for everyone. But what we had was the conversation that we could have shared what our thoughts, feelings, and ideas was. And if we were in a low moment, we could have those conversations and support. We will get through. If you stay, we don't know what it would look like in September, but if we stay together, we keep on supporting each other. So that support group as a uni group has been beneficial as well, and everyone has remained in university and continue with the study. So where the concern and the anxiety level of what it was be, everyone now is in a better place and adapting to that, to the journey as well.
That's awesome. That sounds great. My next question is there anything, you said you read a lot, and you've kind of maybe been doing quite a lot of that during lockdown. Is there anything that you suggest to other students to read, watch, or listen in the second lockdown that we find ourselves in?
Well, for me and to get many of the students, what I would say to them is to knowledge is always the key to broaden their knowledge. And if you're studying a course or your course of interest is to find something niche in it that interests you so you can connect. So you're not just connecting with the lecturer and the student, and then you become dependent in one aspect of what you're doing. So try to enhance your own self and development with that. And that can happen through a number of ways. It can be reading, it can be a voluntary job. It can be something that creates your mind, so you can wider engage with this course or the studies that you're on. It can enhance your experience in that sense. I was fortunate for myself that I had management experience before I came to uni, so I understand what management and business management for myself was about. I wanted to get to managing director, CEO, so I thought the only way I could sit at the table was to go and get this enhanced qualification. So when I came to uni, I had that. So for me, that gave me a 50% chance in terms of better understanding where. So I didn't have the anxiety level or some of the anxiety level of some of the class, because if I got 40%, for example, in subject level, because you can't be good, then I know that in that subject, I'm 40%. I've tried, that's where I am. I can improve, If I get 80%, I'm saying that's my strong subject. I'm good at that, in that sense. So it's about understanding who you are as a person, where you are as a person. You cannot be good at everything. How to manage because especially for a student that is looking forward in management. Management is about leadership. It's about bringing people. It's about creating people. You've got to start learning to demonstrate that within yourself before, because leaving university won't give you that step because you've got the degree alone. So it takes a lot more self-assessment and self-investment to really utilize the effort that you invested over the next 3 or 4 years to achieve what you want. So my assurance to most students is to first, university is something that demonstrates that you're committed. You're committed to a cause, you're working through a cause, and then you're working to betterment yourself through the cause. But then how do I maximize that in more? Is to involve more in the university, understand the operation around the university, what goes on into the university. So you're not working isolated, so you can enhance your skills. And that could be communication, that could be writing by engaging. And then bring that out into the wider community, and then try to engage in something positive there that will also enhance you as well. So it's benefit you from 3 aspects, and you can relate to it a lot better than just going in and do the studies and go back.
Yeah, absolutely. So my last question for you in this kind of like spotlight interview is, what would your one piece of advice be to a first year student at ARU London at the minute?
Approach it with an open mind. Be prepared for the challenge that it brings. It will bring challenge. Manage your fears in terms of your uncertainty of what you know, because sometimes the anxiety has taken away so much away from us. We spend so much time worried about, I can't do it, I'm not sure, I'm not, rather than thinking where I am, where do I need to improve, and how do I get the best out of it. So I would say accept the challenge, understand that in an investment to achieve, it takes hard work, pain, sacrifice. And if it was easy and it, we wouldn't need to be at university. So it's a learning process. And just be confident in yourself in terms of remember why you started that journey. What is your expectation you want to achieve that on that journey? Be committed, but also build a network around you that support you and that will help you through the difficult times when you need it most.
Great piece of advice. Thank you so much, Moxie, and thank you for being our first student spotlight this academic year. It's been great to chat to you. For any student that's watching, if you would like to get in contact to be our next student spotlight, please do drop me an email. It's n.hopkirk@anglostudent.com. So thanks so much, Moxie, and
thank you, Nat. It's a pleasure.
Thank you for taking part.